It's believed that soul dwells in things that are cherished, but then what dwells in trash? People turn things into trash easily, treat it as something dirty. They never find value in them again, and the same goes to humans. A girl cries over her torn stuffed toy. Her mother comments that it won't look nice if they sew it, so she decides to buy her a new toy, and they throw the old one in the trash. At the waste collection site, a guard hears some noise and sees someone going through the trash. He points his gun at him and realizes he may be the trash vandal from the reports, who has been jeopardizing the town by moving trash outside. The guard activates the alarm, and more show up calling for his surrender. The vandal then throws bags of trash at them and escapes through a vent. Outside, they continue the chase and open fire, but the vandal manages to dodge all but one bullet, which grazes him during his escape. The boy, annoyed, had taken the torn stuffed toy and comments he isn't a vandal. In town, a tribe folkman overhears talk about the trash vandal case from the night before, but also gets bad glares due to how unkempt he looks. At the slums, Chiwa faces Rudo and scolds him for collecting trash again. Rudo explains that rich people throw away stuff easily, and some of those things can still be used. He feels sorry for those things, but can also sell them. Some kids show up, who start mocking Rudo for how bad he smells and the dirty, ragged gloves he wears. Chiwa still doesn't mind hanging out with Rudo, but they remind her that he is a son of a murderer. Everyone living in the slums is descendant of criminals, but they try their best to clear their names. However, Rudo's parents killed people and ruined everything. Rudo then gets angry and gives them a fierce look, causing the kids to run, but they comment that he will become a murderer one day too. Chiwa encourages Rudo and tells him that he isn't like his parents. She notices the cute stuffed toy that Rudo fixed and compliments him on his work. Rudo states the toy isn't for sale and wishes to give it to Chiwa for free. However, at that moment her mother shows up and Chiwa leaves. Returning home, the tribe folkman, Rudo, mocks him for what he said to Chiwa, but advises him to express himself more clearly. Rudo brings up the trash collecting and tells Rudo he should leave the money earning to him. While they are not blood related, Rudo took in Rudo and raised him, so Rudo wanted to give his thanks somehow. Rudo then notices Rudo's wound and wishes to patch it up. Rudo tells him to stop going to the waste collection site, but Rudo comments his wound is just a scratch and is nothing compared to the scars on his hands left by his parents. Rudo warns him that if he commits a serious crime, they will execute him and throw him into the ground, just like his father. After patching him up and giving his gloves back, Rudo recalls that he always had pitch black hands and would sometimes feel excruciating pain. People looked at him with disgust due to the scars, but one day Rudo gave him those gloves and the pain subdued. Rudo tells Rudo to hurry up and give Chiwa the toy, otherwise she soon may fall for someone else, causing them to bicker as Rudo feels embarrassed. The next day, Rudo goes to look for Chiwa. He looks at the ground, a large dark dump site, where all trash eventually gets thrown as well as criminals, making him wonder what is down there. Another man gets thrown into the ground. Chiwa then appears behind Rudo, commenting that this place has a good view. She talks about how the slums were built next to the ground, to show the tribe's people that they will be thrown into it if they do something wrong. Chiwa tells Rudo that she doesn't want to see him getting thrown down there, and getting thrown there for collecting trash isn't worth it. Rudo comments that Rudo said the same thing, causing Chiwa to state that Rudo loves him too. Rudo then realizes she said she loved him, causing both to be embarrassed. Rudo then gives her the toy, making Chiwa happy. Excited, Rudo runs back home to tell Rudo, but bumps into a masked man, causing him to drop a book. Before he could say anything, the man picks up the book and runs. As he gets home, he finds Rudo lying on the floor with a sword on his chest and starts to panic. Still alive, Rudo tells him to run and to change the shitty world. Police then knock down Rudo and arrest him for the murder. Rudo tries to say it wasn't him and that Rudo is still alive, but Rudo had already died, and the police don't believe Rudo as he is covered in his blood. Rumors of Rudo being a murderer spreads. Rudo is then sentenced to death for scavenging garbage, polluting the streets, and murdering a person. Rudo can't believe this is happening. As he looks into the crowd, he sees Chiwa. She looks disappointed and comments that she trusted him, but in the end, he was truly a son of a murderer and drops the toy he gifted her. As the crowd yells for the filth to be thrown into the ground, Rudo states they are the filthy ones, with no will of their own and no ability to see or hear the truth. Rudo then sees the masked man from earlier. As he is dropped into the ground, he yells he will kill them all. Rudo then awakens on a pile of garbage. He looks around and sees a large beast behind him. In the ground, Rudo wonders what the bizarre trash creatures chasing him are. When one of the creatures snaps its jaws right towards him, he rolls away and coincidentally presses into a human skull that was lying on the ground. Terrified and furious, he screams and curses the people that threw him into this hellscape. When he tries to climb up a pile of trash, he trips and falls down the pile of filth. He notices the air in this place is toxic and he would have to escape somewhere before his lungs give out. But he starts vomiting blood, cursing himself for his incapability. The creatures make their way toward the weakened Rudo again, but when he starts losing consciousness, he hallucinates and sees Regto's dying body right next to him staring into his eyes. Rudo suddenly starts to remember the things he has to do before he dies, to beat the people who framed and looked down on him to death. With this newfound purpose, he picks up a pipe from the trash and charges toward the creatures. From afar, a masked person sitting with an umbrella on top of a garbage heap watches the fight through binoculars. Rudo throws his pipe towards one of the creature's throats and tries to get to its flank, but the creature blasts him away with its garbage-built paws. Rudo gets up again, this time with a wide roof plate, and along with a roar he manages to slash through the creature. But just when he lets his guard down a little, the creature's scattered pieces start piling on each other again and shoot toward him. Lying flat, when Rudo opens his eyes, he finds the mysterious masked person was standing before him, holding an umbrella over both of them. The masked person violently kicks Rudo, causing him to cough, and forces a mask on his face, enabling him to finally breathe freely again. Rudo starts to ask questions about the masked person and this underground world, but the person tells him to shut up in a low voice. Rudo starts shouting at him for his unclear voice, and the masked man finally snaps. The man screams in his face that this is not the underground, but the surface where sky people have dumped their waste, and the trash heap creatures known as aberrant beasts cannot be beaten with a normal weapon. After blaming Rudo for causing him to make a ruckus, he focuses on his umbrella and starts drawing out energy from it. When he snaps it open, the umbrella transformed into a battle-ready weapon with blades growing out of the ribs and a spearhead from the tip. The man twists the handle towards a charging beast and shreds it to pieces within a few moments. Rudo is awestruck by the man's ability and the strange umbrella as he watches the beasts being killed one by one. Rudo begins to believe if he could attain his power, he could take out the people from above that he despises. He asks the identity of the man, and the man finally takes off his helmet-like mask to introduce himself as Injin, an average janitor, before complaining about the stink and quickly putting back his headwear again. As Rudo fell asleep, he dreamed of Regto, and as he wakes up, he was chained and being dragged by Injin. The janitor teases Rudo about falling asleep, while the latter demands he releases him so he can go back up to the sky for revenge. Injin clarifies that the Sky Island is called Heaven Down in the Ground, and says it's impossible to go back up. Rudo demands that Injin tell him everything about the power he saw him use in the world of the ground, not appreciating the attitude being displayed. The janitor ominously tells Rudo he will teach him what it's like to live in this world, dropping him off at what looks like a truck stop. Here Rudo runs into a group of mysterious masked men who recognize his clothing and deem him as one of the Sky People. Rudo admits he fell from heaven, causing the masked men to unveil themselves with excitement as they began to befriend Rudo and begin to take his chains off. So he thought until he awakes again and chained in a truck. It is revealed that these men are human traffickers and want to sell Rudo for a high price due to being a sky person. The men mock him and his origins, while explaining that the people of the ground hate the Sky People because of all the trash they dump daily. The leader of the group continues to mock Rudo and even tries to force him to eat garbage. Instead, Rudo bites off the flesh and muscle from the leader's fingers in a rage, then begins eating the garbage food, saying it's not trash if you can still eat it. This instance of betrayal unlocked Rudo's hidden ability, causing him to change chains and attire into weapons for him to attack the human traffickers. The leader of the group calls Rudo a giver, hinting at his ability to change the objects he touches. The traffickers group together to try and take Rudo down, but he beats them easily. Injin is watching the encounter on a hill, showing excitement for Rudo's power, while the leader of the group is scared for his life. Before Rudo could give the finishing blow, Injin jumps in and stops him, bringing him back to his senses. Injin then requests for Rudo to join the janitors, because he has a power that they need, but Rudo responds, "I don't want to." Meanwhile, Zanka communicates with Injin via a wrist comm system. Zanka remarks on Injin's description of Rudo as a prodigy, further adding that he just happened to pick him up in the forbidden area. In a treatment facility, Rudo overhears Injin's conversation while being tended to by an unnamed doctor. Rudo clarifies that he never said he was joining the janitors. The unnamed doctor cuts in their conversation, shouting at Rudo for getting lost in the forbidden area, kidnapped, and how he was putting his life on the line by breathing in the toxic air. Their argument continues, with the unnamed doctor adding that she is not an old man, in response to Rudo's earlier remark calling her one. Ruto and Injin leave the treatment facility, engaging in idle conversation about the costs of treatment for Rudo's injuries. While sitting at a burger joint, Rudo and Injin have a conversation about how the aberrant beasts form, with Rudo describing it as emotions and thoughts that are transformed into energy. Injin goes on to explain that the Jinki are needed to combat any aberrant beast because their core is a thought. Injin goes on to add that Rudo's Jinki, his gloves, can be utilized to take down the aberrant beasts, with them having the same effect as a pin used by a writer for a long time or a carefully sharpened knife by a chef. Injin further goes on to explain that the janitors are givers, being able to draw the emotional power from their Jinki. Rudo reflects on how he's used those gloves to hide his hands throughout his life. Injin hands Rudo a bag of currency, adding that it's the money he made from selling Rudo's clothes. Rudo freaks out at this as Injin walks off. A cat appears out of nowhere, grabbing the bag of currency that Rudo was just given, running off into the back alleys. Ruto grabs a staff leaning against a wall of this alley and stops the cat, retrieving his stolen money. However, Zanka, the owner of the staff, angrily steps forward, snatching back his Jinki from Rudo. Ruto notices the emblem Zanka wears and realizes that he's a janitor too. The now enraged Zanka says that Rudo must be educated and prepares to fight. Zanka acknowledges Rudo's lack of manners being raised. Rudo reminisces on his childhood, spent being raised by Regto, realizing he needs to consider other people's feelings. Rudo apologizes for stealing Zanka's Jinki. Zanka apologizes to Rudo too, for overreacting about having it stolen. Rudo explains to Zanka that his gloves are his Jinki, with Zanka saying those are some cool gloves. Rudo remembers that Regto said he needs to fix his sour face. He remembers that he practiced smiling in a mirror, responding to Zanka's question whilst pulling a strained smile. Zanka assumes Rudo is mocking him. Rudo tries to smile again, with his eyes and his mouth closed. Again, Zanka assumes Rudo is mocking him. Rudo and Zanka shout at each other, getting angry at each other, with Zanka saying Rudo's goal is worthless. They begin escalating, turning their argument into a fight. Ruto grabs a metal pole, with Zanka questioning if his Jinki is his gloves, or if he has the ability to turn anything he touch into a Jinki. Zanka attacks Rudo with his vital instrument, a stick. Zanka berates Rudo throughout the fight, calling him a mere genius, while calling himself a super ordinary guy. The two continue to fight with Ruto using a plunger as his weapon of choice. Zanka freaks out upon seeing this, causing him to flee and drop his offensive. He continues to yell at Rudo, telling him to stop until the two run into Injin, who comments on how the two are already friends. Then shown is Injin driving a car with Rudo and Zanka in the backseat. Injin is hysterical because of the fight the two had, flinging turds at each other. Ruto realizes that he was in fact fighting with poop, while Zanka thinks about how disgraceful it was. Injin tells Rudo that Zanka will be his mentor and praises him. Zanka gets overly excited at this praise. Injin then sees a girl behind Rudo and Zanka. He calls her Ryo as she begins to question Rudo about his hair while touching it. The chapter concludes with Injin saying they're heading home to the cleaners' headquarters. This is where the first arc of GachiaKuta ends, titled the Ground Wanderer arc, and in the next video, folks, stay tuned for the second arc, which is the Workplace Observation arc. If you enjoyed this video and want more GachiaKuta content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Got thoughts or theories about Rudo and the janitors? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.